Becky Lynch has broken her silence after being ambushed by arch-rival Liv Morgan while the Raw Women's Champion was training for WWE Day 1. The two are all set to collide at Day 1, with Lynch's title on the line. On the latest edition of Raw, Big Time Bex injured Morgan, and the latter wasn't willing to wait for the pay-per-view to exact revenge on her. Liv Morgan attacked Becky Lynch while she was training for her upcoming match, leaving Lynch fuming. On the December 6, 2021 edition of the Red Brand, Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan squared off for Lynch's Raw Women's title. The match ended with Big Time Bex scoring a sneaky pin on her opponent using the ropes. The match headlined Raw and Morgan later opened up about the same. Not until that day did Becky Lynch, and I know we were main eventing Raw, and all week I was hoping so much that we'd get to main event because I really want to pay homage, but also, do our own thing, and I just was hoping it would be the main event, and then I found out a couple hours into the day that we were gonna be the main event because originally, we weren't gonna be the main event. It got switched and so it was just so special, said Liv. After Lynch's win, the WWE Universe knew that a rematch was bound to happen between the two superstars, somewhere down the line. Liv Morgan is a major fan favorite in her feud with Becky Lynch. It has been about 7 years since she made her debut. She has yet to win a title in WWE, and her fans feel that it's finally time for the company to give her a big push. The feud between Lynch and Morgan has suddenly become even more personal after tonight's attack. Who's coming out victorious when all's said and done at WWE Day 1? Liv Morgan has sent out a tweet reacting to her brawl with Becky Lynch at a training facility. Morgan was trying to get revenge on the man, but the two superstars ended up getting into a brawl. On last week's episode of Monday Night Raw, Becky Lynch attacked Liv Morgan and injured her arm. WWE announced that Morgan suffered a deep bone bruise and a strained radial collateral ligament in her left arm due to the attack. Earlier today, the company uploaded a video on its social media account showing Liv Morgan arriving at a gym and striking someone who she thought was Becky Lynch with a kendo stick. The man emerged behind her, grabbed the stick, and began brawling. Liv Morgan quoted WWE's tweet, which contained the video of the fight, by sending out a bold statement. On site, said Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch didn't stay silent on the matter, as the Raw Women's Champion also had her say about the incident. She responded to WWE's tweet with a gif that included the words, "It was a crazy plan to begin with." The two superstars are scheduled to battle each other at WWE's next pay-per-view event, Day 1, which will take place on January 1st. Liv Morgan has never held a title in WWE before, so there's a chance she might defeat Big Time Bex to capture the Raw Women's Championship. The former Riot Squad member has a lot of support from the WWE Universe, and most of them are rooting for her to win the bout. If not, she could get another opportunity at the championship by winning the Women's Royal Rumble match and choosing Becky Lynch as her opponent for WrestleMania 38. Why did WWE tape 2 episodes of SmackDown in Chicago on Friday night without hometown star Mustafa Ali? According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, he wasn't even present at the arena when the SmackDown shows were taped. Sadly, it appears that WWE did not have anything planned creatively for Mustafa Ali's return to his hometown of Chicago. Mustafa Ali has been off the road since before Survivor Series after the company sent him home early on paternity leave. But according to Sapp, that time has passed, and Ali is ready to return to television when the company calls on him to do so. Even though Mustafa Ali has been absent from WWE SmackDown in recent weeks, he continues to be present on social media in order to remain in the minds of the WWE Universe. However, the last couple of days has been very interesting as Ali changed his profile picture to a black screen with a smiley face with X's for eyes instead of circles on the day that SmackDown took place in Chicago. The following day, Ali posted the smiley face again, this time in a judge outfit with a gavel. It's unknown at this time what Ali might be hinting towards on social media. Still, the talented performer knows how to get the WWE Universe talking, and plenty are wondering what his next move will be after making these posts on social media over the weekend. Stay tuned for the latest information regarding Mustafa Ali, and when he might return to WWE SmackDown. What are your thoughts on this Mustafa Ali update? Were you disappointed that he didn't appear on SmackDown Friday in his hometown? Let us know your thoughts by sounding off in the comments section below. Jim Cornette recently shared his thoughts on Roman Reigns laying Paul Heyman out in the main event of SmackDown. Last week on SmackDown, Roman Reigns fired his special counsel after the latter said he's protecting the tribal chief from Brock Lesnar and not the other way around. The aftermath saw Brock Lesnar charge down to the ring to protect his former advocate. The Beast then laid out the bloodline to close the show. Speaking on the Jim Cornette's drive-thru, the former Midnight Express manager stated that it was one of the best segments he has watched all year. Roman Reigns FNG hugs him and puts his arms around him. He's got the microphone and says, "I love you, thank you for 40 years of service to my family, you're fired." Paul's shocked. Reigns turns around to walk off and then turns back around and runs and hits him with, well, it wasn't really a Superman punch. Maybe it was a Superboy punch. Maybe even Crypto the Superdog punch. But anyway, Reigns hits the Superman punch and Paul goes down, but his feet didn't leave the ground. That was the lowest altitude ever on a bump, but he went down and he stayed there. And the people blew. And then Reigns has the Usos bring chairs in, and they're gonna concerto Paul, and not only is that a little extreme, but also the size of Paul's head. I was worried about the chairs. In all seriousness, this was so good. I wish they'd gone for the concerto thing cause that's a bit much. But boom, music before they can do it, and here comes Brock Lesnar. Brock meets the Usos on the ground, and he kicks the FK out of the Usos. Then he slides in and Reigns takes the chair to him, but he said, FK it. Just stands up under him, and gives him an F5. Boom, and then another. Then there's Paul, laying there like yesterday's wash and Brock Lesnar's fired up in the ring. That was a FNG angle. I mean, that's wrestling. At day 1, the first WWE pay-per-view event of 2022, Roman Reigns defends his Universal Championship against Brock Lesnar. However, for the first time in over a year, the head of the table will not have his special counsel accompanying him to the ring. Paul aligned with Roman after the latter made his return at SummerSlam 2020. The Bloodline has since been the most entertaining storyline in WWE. It wasn't until this week's episode of SmackDown that Roman fired Heyman before knocking him cold with a Superman punch in what could have been either a switch or a swerve. Although Brock Lesnar was there to save Paul Heyman, there was no formal reunion between Heyman and the Beast, and things are as confusing as they can be. Prior to being cut, Bray Wyatt reportedly made a lot of noise backstage and indicated that he wanted to part ways with WWE. The former Universal Champion was unexpectedly released on July 31, 2021. Even though the company claimed he was released due to budget issues, Wyatt was allegedly unhappy and wanted out. Earlier reports suggested Bray Wyatt had become very protective of his Fiend character and regularly had issues with the creative team over his booking. Wyatt had a lot of input into the character and its design. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer Radio, via CSS, stated that the reason behind Wyatt's release was that he himself wanted to leave and was making a lot of noise about it backstage. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer mentioned a belief that Bray Wyatt may have been released by WWE because he wanted out and made a lot of noise about it. The former WWE champion had one of the bigger contracts in WWE before he was released. Even though he had a good contract, it did not have a no-cut clause which left him open to be fired by the company at any time. His contract was similar to the one Kevin Owens signed recently. It's how they got Wyndham Rotunda. He was going to get $3 million, 3-year term. They went to a 5-year term, he held. They inched up towards 4, he jumped at it. But it's still a 90-day contract. And with the higher number, it takes less and less to trigger the release, revealed a WWE source to Dave Meltzer. Even though there was speculation that Wyatt would join AEW or Impact Wrestling once his 90-day non-compete clause with WWE expired, he has yet to resurface in the world of professional wrestling.